For Coach Edd, hitting hard like hammer, analyzing plays, no slipping on the glamour. From the courts to fields, every game he plans up. Legendary hustle always stands up. NYC nights where the lights bright and grander. Critical calls got the crowd in tandem. Players respect cause he's never random. Game on lock, he's the playbook's fandom. Coach Edd, he's the man on the scene, breaking down plays like a well-oiled machine. In the Bronx or Queens, he's a strategy fiend, always in control, living the dream. Sunset games, crowd on fire, electric, calling every move with a voice so eclectic. From sunrise drills to the midnight tactics, a master at work. His passion's automatic with a whistle round his neck, always systematic.
Peace and blessings, everyone. It's me, it's Coach Edd, and I'm excited today to come here and bring to you all my list of the all-time list of the New York Football Giants. Now, there's different lists that are going on out there. You know, everyone is entitled to their opinion, their beliefs, what they feel, how they feel about the list within the New York Football Giants, however you want to go about it. So I'm happy to go ahead and bring you my list. Now, before I do that, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Everyone, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like button. I'm sorry, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification. Make sure everyone shares on all your social media platforms. It'll help the channel. You know, you get it out there into the algorithm, it'll help it grow, and I'll continue to bring you guys great content like this. So now, first of all, shout out to my man TP Way. He did his on Monday, and he put it out there for other giant content creators to come out with their list. So I took the challenge. I said, okay, I'll give you my list. So this is why I'm here to do it, give you my thoughts, my views in reference to the Giants. Now, a lot of this is going to be about those who have played here, participated in certain capacities, whatever capacity that they have been a part of the New York Football Giants. This is what I'm going to go over and tell you in terms of my list. There's going to be some things that, you know what? Some of you are like, oh, Coach really went there, or Coach really talked about that position. Yes, there's some positions that, you know what, most people don't talk about or they forget. Well, I did. Sat down, I thought about it, came up with my list. Now, there's going to be some who, you know what, you're not going to be happy, or you're going to say, hey, why is he on the list, or why is such and such not on the list? That's fine. Afterwards, I was thinking about doing a honorable mention list. But one thing I found in doing this, it seemed like quite a few of the positions, there were players that I'm like, okay, they should be on the list. They should be on the list. It's a little bit too much, a little bit too many. So I didn't do an honorable mention list, but I will go over some players who didn't make my list, but they are important to the New York Football Giants. So really excited about bringing this to you. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and dive into the into the list. Where is it? Okay, here we go. So the first group that I'm going to talk about, it goes with the group that most will not even think about including in their list, or didn't think about including in their list. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the GM and the coaches. Yes, they're important to the aspect of the football program. Daniel Berry, thanks for tapping in, brother. Really appreciate you always. You're always there to support me. So nothing but love and respect. So, but getting back to the GMs and the coaches, yes, they are important, and that's why I include them in this list. Whoa, coach. Some might say, oh, no, they're not important. Yes, they are. The GMs are important because they construct the team, and the coaches, they help develop the players. So with that being said, my number one is George Young. As far as a GM, if it wasn't for him, it's no LT. There's no Super Bowls back in 86, back in 90. That's why he made my list. I hear you, Daniel. Thank you. Yeah, go Lakers. Thank you, Tyrone Hall. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. Nothing but love and respect for you for being here. So there. George Young was very instrumental in the development of the New York Giants, the history, and leading to the first two Super Bowls, but down the road, the other two, because there is a slight connection. So, and then number two was Ernie Accorsi. Led to getting Eli Manning, many great players, also contributed to the development of the other two Super Bowls. Now, just pay attention. You're going to see a trend with my list. But this is just a little start. Now, as far as the coaches, hey, number one is Bill Parcells, man. There's no question about it. As far as coaches, hands down, to me, he's the best. He's number one as far as New York Football Giant coaches. Now, please also keep in mind, in terms of this list, these are participants that I have seen during my lifetime. There's not going to be anyone prior to that going early 70s all the way back up. You know, there's not going to be guys like Emlyn Tunnell on my list. You can go back. Y.A. Tittle. You know, there's so many that I did not include in this list because I didn't see them. But this is dealing with my time as a New York Football Giant. And I've been a Giant fan since 1979. So you think about that. It's a very long time. All right. So Bill Parcells is my number one coach. Tom Coughlin is my number two. And both of them have the 4 Super Bowls in their 4 Super Bowl wins during their times as coach of the New York Football Giants. So that's why they are 1 and 2. 3, God rest his soul, Jim Fassel. Now, he took the team to a Super Bowl, didn't win, but his run, what he has done for the New York Football Giants, cannot be taken lightly. He's done a phenomenal job in leading this organization. And as he said, he put his chips to the middle of the table and he was all in. So, yes, I'm all in with Jim Fassel being one of the best coaches for the New York Football Giants. So there you have it. As far as the list, it starts out with the GM and the coaches. So you guys let me know what you think. Did that catch you? Did you ever think about including this into an all-time list? Hey, you never know. So we're going to move on. We're in a day and age. You know what it is. Everyone says the quarterback is the most important position. Well, we're going to talk about the quarterbacks. Who do you guys think was number one on my list? Now remember, I started back in 1979 as a New York Giants football fan. So is Eli number one? Is it someone else? Let's take a look. Coming in at number one is my quarterback, Phil Simms. Anybody who really knows me knows Phil Simms was drafted in 79. I saw him as a rookie in 1979. I've always said Phil Simms is my quarterback. He is. Not to take away from anyone else, but for me, it's just a sentimental thing. Now, number 2 is Eli. And I'm going to be honest, I did debate between Phil Simms and Eli. I really, really did. But Phil Simms is number 1. Eli is number 2. And they both have 2 Super Bowl wins. Eli has 2 Super Bowl MVPs, while Phil has 1. The second one, he ended up getting hurt late in the season. But he was a key contributor to leading the Giants to that second Super Bowl in 1990. So he has 2 Super Bowl wins along with Eli. Eli has 2 Super Bowl MVPs. But Phil Simms is my quarterback. It's number 1. Eli's number 2. Kerry Collins is number 3. Did some amazing things for the Giants, and he also led the team to the Super Bowl. Didn't win. He was there with Fossil, but you know what? He was explosive, and there were so many things that he did during the course of the games in terms of leadership and performance. That's why, to me, he was number 3 on my list. So, again, there you go. Phil Simms, number 1. Eli, number 2. Kerry Collins, number 3. What's you guys' thoughts? I know most will have Eli Manning, number 1. And I'm not saying that's not wrong. If that's who you choose, if that's who you think is the best, your number 1 quarterback, that's fine. And that's fine. But, I base mine on, the years I've been a Giants fan. And when I came in 79 as a Giants fan, that's when Phil Simms was a rookie. Saw him play in a preseason game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's when I fell in love with being a New York Football Giants fan. So there you go. So let me know what you guys think in reference to that. So, but again, there you have it. Just hit on 2 different components in terms of the all-time list. So make sure you guys, like I said, let me know what you think in the comments, whatever the case may be. So now we're going to move on to another position that I think is key to the success of a football team, whether it's old school and even in today's trends and day and age of the way the game is played. You can't have success without this position. Now, I'm not going to say it's the number 2 position in a sense behind the quarterback, but it's a very important position, and it helps out a quarterback immensely. So this position, quarterback usually, after taking a snap, can turn around and hand the ball off to him, and I'm talking about the running backs. Now, as you notice, this is another position I added another dimension to it. Most people just go with the running backs, but I broke it down. This is Coach Edd speaking. I'm giving you a coaching aspect. I have the running backs and I have the fullbacks. Fullbacks were very key, especially when I played in the early components of the way football was played. The fullback usually is the one that does a lot of the dirty work, getting the running up inside, as well as lead blocking for the running back. But we're going to start with the running back position. As you see, Tiki Barber is number 1. He's the all-time leading rusher, done a lot of amazing things for this organization, even went to 1 Super Bowl, didn't win it, but brought a lot to the field as far as a player. Look, man, he even had issues initially fumbling, but worked hard to the point where he no longer was a problem as a runner fumbling the football. Number 2 is Joe Morris, little dynamic running back in the late 80s into the early 90s, was part of that first Super Bowl. Now, he was a key contributor. He was a key point of the offense. When Phil Simms wasn't passing, turning around, handing that ball off to little Joe Morris, and there he was, going off tackle and sometimes exploding right down the sideline, leading to a big gain or even a touchdown. So great little running back, did a lot for the New York Giants. Number 3 is Rodney Hampton. Now, he didn't go to any Super Bowls, but, a lot of what he did as a running back definitely was key to what the New York Football Giants and what is thought of as far as New York Giants football. You always have had to have a strong, sound running game. And Rodney Hampton was one of those guys that helped in the run game. And then, of course, Brandon Jacobs contributed to, our Super Bowls with Eli. Big battering ram of a running back, 6'5", 260 pounds. Also had some speed along with it. Shared a little bit in the backfield, but he was that key running back. He was that bell cow. So that's the running backs. Now, as far as the fullbacks, Maurice Carthan, to me, was the best fullback in terms of football. He could run the football, but he was phenomenal as a blocker, leading it for Joe Morris or any running back that was back there. And you know what? The running back would just follow him up into the alley. And once he blocked, they cut off of his block because he was usually putting a defender on their backside. So he could also catch the ball out of the backfield and be very productive in terms of once he catches the ball, turning upfield and making a play. So Maurice Carthan, in terms of fullbacks, was number one. Charles Way was another big, strong fullback, roughly about 6'2", 6'3", roughly 240, 250 pounds. He was also a bell cow. He was used a little bit as a running back, but especially in the single back set. But he was that type of running back where if you had someone else with him, he would open the alley for the running back. And in short yardage, you always could count on him getting a first down, or if you were in the red zone close to the touchdown, getting a touchdown. So there you have it. Running backs is Tiki Barber, Joe Morris, Rodney Hampton, Brandon Jacobs. Fullbacks, Maurice Carthan, Charles Way. Did I surprise you guys with that? Most will just have running backs. Were you surprised with me putting on the fullbacks? I think some of you guys are going to be surprised with that. So, but there you go. Running backs and fullbacks. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next grouping in terms of the position. In terms of the list. This position is an extension of the offensive line, and it's also a pass catcher, and that's the tight end. Now, for me, the tight ends have always been, just like I said, an extension of the offensive line, being able to block, but also getting downfield, catching the passes, especially sometimes right there as a crosser, up the seam, getting right to the sideline in the flats, being big for the quarterback so he can get you the football. First is always Mark Bavaro. Now, if you saw Mark Bavaro, one play that will always stick out in terms of Mark Bavaro is when the New York Giants were playing in San Francisco, and Phil Simms hit him right over the middle, and Bavaro turned around and started up the field. And when I say he was dragging defenders, he went through 6, 7 San Francisco players to get downfield. One of those players was Ronnie Lott, Hall of Fame Ronnie Lott. And you saw Ronnie Lott just holding on for dear life as Bavaro went downfield. So for me, he's that number one. He's the epitome of what I feel a tight end should be. Being able to block, but also getting downfield. And in a little separate storyline, most people don't know how tough and how committed Bavaro was as a player. There was a game where in the first half, he broke his jaw. So most would just tap out from there, go to the hospital after the game, get it wired, go through the process of working to medically recover and see what you can do to get back out on the field. Not Bavaro. Went into the locker room. They wired his jaw shut right there, and he came back out onto the field and finished playing the game. Tapped to Bill Parcells and said, "I'm here, coach." And Parcells was even surprised that he was there. But that just speaks to the toughness and the mindset of Mark Bavaro. Next is Jeremy Shockey. Jeremy Shockey is another one who was just so dynamic. Receiver skills, speed, big, catch the ball, turn upfield, elusive. Definitely one that you would love. Also, that mentality. Talk trash to you, but he was always looking to put defensive backs on their backs if he can. You know, going up the sideline or over the middle of the field, it did not matter. Jeremy Shockey was just that type of receiving tight end. He also has some very good hands, so, you know, especially for a tight end. So he was not in my number 2. And Howard Cross, so I'm going to say he's more of a blocker. I understand that. But he was always reliable for Phil Simms, dependable for Simms, catching those first downs, whether it's in the red zone for a touchdown or for a first down. You know, big guy, but he was also key in the run game to help the running game be productive, whether we're trying to get a first down or springing the running backs like we went over before, you know, with Joe Morris, with Charles Way, with Maurice Carthon. Did what he had to do to help those guys. So he's definitely on my list as the number 3 tight end so far. So what's your guys' thoughts, man? Let me know. Next, we're going to go into another dynamic position. These are the pass catchers. You know, these are the wide receivers. Now, I did something different. I broke them up because there was always those slot guys, and then there were the guys who were on the outside. So that's the little trick, the little niche that I bring to the table. So it really is something that, you know what, when I look at other lists, you know, they always have maybe 3 or 4 wide receivers, and then that's it. But I'm giving you guys who are on the outside, the X or Z receivers, and then you have your slot guys. So Tyrone Hall says Howard Cross was also one of the longest tenured Giants. Yes, he was. Yes, he was, Tyrone. So, but yeah, that's one of the reasons why. This is another reason why I appreciate what he brings to the table. As far as the receivers on the outside, you have Amani Toomer. I mean, the all-time leading receiver. So many different things that he's done for the New York Giants. I mean, coming in, worked hard. You know, some, you know, out of Michigan, some felt, you know what, he wasn't going to be a good receiver, but he worked hard to get to that position. I still remember that Cowboys game where he came across, caught the ball in the left flat, and turned upfield and was gone. That was the game where, you know, Jerry had the tickets going on to the next round, and the Giants found out. And this was when he just built the new stadium down there. Well, guess what? Amani, Eli did what they had to do to lead this team to that Super Bowl. Him making those catches, a lot of amazing catches, sideline catches. He always just seemed to catch the ball and was very picturesque and just, boom, went out of bounds, even if he was falling out of bounds. But these are some of the things that I remember about him as far as a pass catcher. Number 2 is Hakeem Nicks. Man, there was a time where you thought Hakeem was going to end up being the all-time greatest New York Giant receiver. I mean, until injuries came into play. But again, another guy who did so many different things to help this team. And as you can see, these two also were contributors to leading the Giants to Super Bowls. So have you noticed, too, the trend with all of the list so far? A lot of it deals with Super Bowls, doesn't it? Just saying. But yeah, Hakeem, just one of those receivers, going up, catching the ball, high pointing the ball. With his play, sometimes you thought he was 6'4", 6'5", but he was really 6'1", 6'2". But he's physical, fast, and had great leaping ability. So he's number 2. OBJ is number 3. Now, I know some of you might say you would probably put him over Hakeem, and I can understand that. I do. You know, some might say they don't want him on their list. Some might even drop him, you know, for whatever reason. They didn't like the antics. But you can't take away, when he was on that field, he put fear into the opposition. You were afraid that he would take a short slant, turn it upfield, and was gone. How many times as Giants fan did we see that? So, yeah, he was just so elite. And the one-handed catches, pre-game shows, just plucking the ball out like it was a baseball, you know, as he prepared for the game. Put on a show there also, and fans just love that. So, OBJ is number 3. And for those of you younger, you might not realize how good Ike Hilliard was. Phenomenal route runner. You know, he could just run, set you up, boom, and cut, and leave a defender totally twisting for air. And then he catches the ball and turns upfield and then makes a play. So he contributed to that Super Bowl in 2000, but you know what? He didn't get the Super Bowl win. But he was very instrumental in what he brought to the table for the New York Giants. So the guys on the outside, Toomer, Nix, OBJ, and Hilliard for me. Now, as far as the slots, these are guys who are usually on the inside. Yeah, they can play outside a little bit, but a lot of times they were focused on the inside, mismatched against a safety, maybe a linebacker, nickel corner who wasn't, you know, as good being on the outside. Number one is Victor Cruz. The game against the Gents, 99 yards, catching the ball short on that right sideline, turning upfield, breaking the tackle, and then outrunning everyone else all the way for the touchdown, man. You know, he came out of nowhere, out of Massachusetts. No one thought he was going to make the team initially, but there he was preseason, making plays, made the team, and then made a name for himself. You know, and he was just that important, also going to the Super Bowl. So he's number one as far as the slot. Sterling Shepard is another one out of Oklahoma. Fell in love. Yes, injuries are what hurt him the most for me in terms of being the slot, because there's that possibility he could have pushed for the number one slot receiver over Victor Cruz. But, I mean, he's just so reliable, making plays for Eli right out of the slot, later on for other quarterbacks. But there he was. He was always producing as far as that slot receiver. So Sterling Shepard is number two. Let me see. Tyrone, honorable mention, Manningham. There's debates about him, you know, but he was productive. He did contribute even to that fourth Super Bowl, especially that catch down the sideline and get in front of Bill Belichick. Yes, you know, so, you know, he wasn't always as reliable because we wanted more out of him. You know, coming out of Michigan, some people were imagining him being Amani Toomer 2.0, but he really wasn't that. But I can understand your feelings for him being, you know, an honorable mention, Tyrone. So, you know, I don't think that's a bad choice. So thank you for that. And the number three is Steve Smith. You know, I mean, so many great plays that he made, you know, helping Eli. You know, I still remember that one against the Patriots where he caught and helped get the first down that led to, you know, the eventual winning touchdown. You know, like I said, so many great plays that Steve Smith brought to the table. So there you have it. I broke it down into two outside receivers, Toomer, Nix, Beckham, Hilliard, and then in the slots you have Cruz, Shepard, and Smith. So those are the receivers, the playmakers, however you want to categorize it. That's what I thought of as far as the receivers. So next we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to, as anyone knows me, I talk about the sexy fatties, the trenches, the trench mob, whatever you want to call them. But right now, offensively, it's the offensive line. So these guys I also broke down because everyone always seems to just give you 4 linemen, maybe 5. So, but for me, I broke it down into center, guards, tackles. Starting in the centers, these are the brains of the offensive line. They call the line slides, the line adjustments. We're trying to identify where the blitz is to make sure that we, you know, get the line blocking to pick that up. It starts with Bart Oates. Many don't realize how good Bart Oates was back in the day. You know, he wasn't as big, massive offensive lineman that you see nowadays. Probably was about 265, 270 back in the days. But he could stand, he could hold up a guy 300 pounds, 310 pounds, and not let him drive him back. And even sometimes in the run game, push. Very smart. Started in the USFL, playing for the Philadelphia Stars, won a championship with the Stars in the USFL, and then came over to the Giants and was a key contributor in the offensive line for the New York Football Giants for years to come. So he's my number one. And then number two is Sean O'Hara. You know, many of you guys know that first Super Bowl with Eli, he was key with that offensive line. let me see, Tyrone brought Steve Smith's jersey at training camp, and he got traded to the Eagles the next year. That was tough too, Tyrone. Yeah, I'm with you. I hated seeing him get traded to the Eagles, especially a division rival. But, I understand that's the business. But, yeah, he's an important player to what we were doing. So, but again, with the offensive line, Sean O'Hara, local kid from Hillsborough, New Jersey, went to Rutgers, actually played all over the line, was even a left tackle at Rutgers. Was undrafted free agent, went over to Cleveland, started working at center, eventually came home to the Giants, and the rest is history. But he was key. Another one who, helped guide that offensive line, open up the running game for Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw, help protect Eli, in the passing game. So very key. So centers is Oates and O'Hara. Guards, Chris Snee. I mean, yes, he was the son-in-law of Coughlin, but he was a beast coming out of Boston College, man. I knew it. I watched him, and I fell in love with him. When we got him, I was so ecstatic. Another key contributor with Sean O'Hara, working that offensive line, working the run games, working double teams, getting the second levels, pulling and getting down there. Smart. But again, like I said, extremely strong. You couldn't just push him straight back to the quarterback. He would stall you. He would stalemate you. Good feet and strong hands. 2 was William Roberts. Was key on that first Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl, man. Big guy. Could play different positions, but found a home as a guard with the Giants and did his thing. So definitely someone who I really love. Yeah, he was a beast, Tyrone. O'Hara was definitely a beast. So William Roberts was key and helped in terms of leading the Giants to that Super Bowl. So, I remember him dancing, right at on the logo at the 50-yard line back in the day. So he was just someone who I just loved watching as a guard. And the last one was Ron Stone. Came over from the Cowboys. They hated Cowboys, but came here, settled in at guard, and did his thing. Made Pro Bowls at guard. Not just one. I believe it was 3. But again, like I said, was a big guy and was key leading to that Super Bowl in 2000. Didn't win, but was very important and instrumental in helping the New York Football Giants protect Kerry Collins so he can get those passes downfield and help that offensive line. Now, moving to the tackles. Number 1 is David Deal. Now, you can make an argument. What's up, Nick? Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you. Yes, I'm giving you guys my knowledge, my thoughts in terms of the New York Football Giants, my list. So, again, this is my list. So, and everyone has their opinion, their thoughts, their list, and I'm going to be looking forward to seeing others. But, but again, thanks for being here. Everybody in the chat, listen to this man. And what he's saying, his knowledge is top tier. Coach knows well. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And I love your support, Nick. Thank you, man. And I just enjoy doing this, man. So I like helping others see the game from a different perspective because we all do. I just give you a little bit more of a coaching perspective, a little bit more technical. So there you go. We're going to talk about that later. So I don't know right now. So, but, we'll let you know what's happening with that. So. But getting back to the tackles, Iman Parry, thanks for tapping in, man. I really appreciate you guys. And you guys make sure you hit that like button, share, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and share on all social media platforms. Okay, Nick, definitely will let you guys know. So, yeah, this is my all-time list, Nick. So, Iman. So, right now, we're down to the offensive line, closing out the offense. We just went over the center and the guards, the tackles, David Deal. David Deal was a jack of all trades. He played almost every position on the offensive line except for center. But he did find a home at tackle. He was key to helping his team win those last 2 Super Bowls, man. Everything he did with love for this team, for this organization. improving himself, because he did struggle in the early ages, but every player does. But you know what? Wasn't overly athletic, but he he was very technical in what he did, knew exactly where to place his hand against certain players, no matter what, whether he's inside at guard, yeah, he was, Nick, or whether he was at tackle. So, yeah, I've seen a lot. I definitely had an Iman. I haven't seen it all as yet, but I've seen a lot. So thank you, man. But yeah, David Dill was an impressive offensive line. Next is Jumbo Elliott. Back in the late 80s, he was huge. He was considered huge for an offensive lineman, roughly about 6'5". In those days, you really did not see 300-pound offensive linemen, 285, 290. But he was at 310. I think he was really around 325, 320, 325, and he could move. And he has a tackle. When he got his hands on you, literally as a defender, he engulfed you. So, and you know what? In practice, you're going up against guys like Banks and Taylor. What do you think is going to do? It's going to help you get better. So, elite. I don't want to say elite, but one of the great offensive tackles that the New York Giants has ever had. So, and the last one is Kareem McKenzie, key again to the 07 championship. Another big guy from Penn State, definitely helped in the run game, opened up the alleys, the lanes, contributed, to what the Giants were doing in the run game. So there you have it. I broke it down into different phases. Centers, you have Bardolt, Sean O'Hara. Guards, you have Chris Snead, William Roberts, and Ron Stone. Tackles, David Deal, Jumbo Elliott, and Kareem McKenzie. Now, again, like I said, in the beginning, I said that I did not do an honorable mention list because what I found out doing this is I was saying, man, it's so many different guys that, didn't make it but could be on the honorable mention. Yes, David Dill will always be on a lot of people's offensive line, Iman, definitely. So, peace to Tyrone. So, but again, like I said, I broke it down. If you didn't start in the beginning, I'll recap everything at the end just so this way we can yes, Tyrone. He was from Willingboro and then played at Penn State, so he's a Jersey boy. So yeah, I knew that. So thank you for that. Thank you for reminding everyone. But again, I broke this down, into different phases. There's certain points that is going to surprise you guys. So when I recap, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So, but again, that's it for the offense, pretty much closing out that part. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the defense. And here we go. And I'm going to start with the defensive line. Now, just to give you guys a little insight, the defensive line I also broke down. And just so you understand, there's different phases. There's the nose, and that's usually anyone who plays a 0 or 1, maybe a 2-eye. All right, so right over the center's shoulder and inside the guard's shoulder. And then, you have your tackles, which can play, a 2 to a 5, somewhere in that range. And then you have the ends, which are a 5 all the way out to a 9. So when you look at the list, you'll understand. So with the defensive line, here you have it. Starting with the nose tackle, we have Dexter Lawrence, probably right now one of the best nose tackles in football right now and in the history of the Giants, yes, that I see. And again, these are players and these are people associated with the Giants that have been during my lifetime. And I've been a Giants fan since 1979. So just to give you a little insight, I'm no one before that, but everyone that I'm talking about I've seen or dealt with as a Giants fan since 1979. Now, nose is Dexter Lawrence, and there's been a lot of them, and I battled with him actually with number 2, but Dexter Lawrence, but we all know as Giants fan what Dexter can do. I mean, he can stuff the run. He can get after the quarterback as such a big man. So, you can even argue that you could probably push him out to a 5 on the tackle's shoulder, and he can make a play. So he's just that dynamic as a nose guard. Now, Jim Burt, you had to have seen him. He was a true run stuffer. He would clog the middle. He would force double teams and stall at double team. They couldn't drive him. He was just very stout. And there's this one play that sticks out in my mind with him when the Giants were going to the Super Bowl, where he got a massive hit on Joe Montana. And I'm telling you, it was a vicious hit. He exploded into him, and Montana literally went flying 5 yards before he hit the ground, bounced, and was out of the game from there. He just knocked him out. He was that strong. I mean, literally, you probably think I felt sometimes that he could take 2 men, one in each hand, and just lift them up in the air. That's how much of an impact he had as a nose tackle. So, but let me get back to the chat real quick. Guys are tapping in. Let me say, Man Cave, what's up, brother? Thanks for tapping in. I really appreciate you. If you want, Cave, let me know. I'll bring you on. We could talk about some of this too if you have the time. So, not the Will Shimmers. Yeah, there you go about Willenboro. Salute, Man Cave. AK, thanks for tapping in, brother. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you again for the support. Eli Strahan on the end, Tuck Lawrence in the middle. Nobody beat. The NASCAR was definitely a nasty one. So, salute, Man Cave. So, there you go. Leonard Martin ended the career. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He definitely did, man. Everybody on the Giants. Yeah, it definitely seemed like that, back in the days. But you know what? Defense was just that vicious. It was that nasty. You wanted to take people out. You don't want to, end their career, but you wanted to take them out of that game. So, Lauren, as far as the nose, getting back to that, those are my 2 all-time lists in terms of the nose. I'll talk about one other one once we're done. I really, it was a hard fight with myself. I was really conflicted with this, but I went with these 2. As far as the tackles, number 1 is Leonard Marshall, man. Again, Leonard Marshall, like you just said, he's another one that put the hit on Joe Montana against San Francisco. In San Francisco, Montana rolling right. I think he eluded LT for a second because LT was coming, so he stopped, and Leonard Marshall was coming from the behind and just dead centered him right in his back. And when I say dead center back there, you just hit him right in the middle of his spine. And when I say he took him down and took him out, that's exactly what he did. So next is George Martin, man. Another one, veteran, crafty, old veteran, could do so many different things in terms of his play. Back then, he was considered an end, but it was more of a 5 technique because then we played 3-4, a true 3-4, and he could 2-gap the tackle. And if you were coming inside, and if you didn't double him and running back was coming inside, he could just discard the tackle and then make a play. I still remember a play where he intercepted John Elway in the Meadowlands, tipped the ball, and then returned it. I think it was about 70 yards for a touchdown. But again, he just made so many plays throughout his course as a Giant. Keith Hamilton, another guy who played up and down the defensive line. Sometimes he can line up as a 0. Sometimes he can line up as an end. They even classified him initially as an end, but most of the time when they were going with a forefront, he was more of an interior 3-tech type of lineman. Very strong, could always make the play, stuff the run, and then get after the quarterback. So he's definitely number 3 on my list, man. All right, give me a second. Let me pull up I'll send it to you now. So you guys just bear with me, because I'm going to send Cave this link, and then I can continue on in reference to this, the Man Cave. All right, Cave, I just sent it to you. So, but But again, I was sending, and then Nick, I was sending messages with Nick earlier and telling him how great it is to have you back on the YouTube. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it, man. Hey, look, man, it's life. Struggle, go through things, but I'm here, man. Getting back to the tackles, and then Leonard Williams, he was here a short time, but he had such a great impact, and he played very well with Dexter Lawrence, man. Getting after the quarterback. I know some people said they wanted more sacks out of him, but his job really wasn't that. He was a 3 tech that he was focused on stopping the run and then getting after the quarterback, but he was just very athletic and very dynamic with a lot of the things that he can do as a tackle. So that's it for the tackles. Yeah, Justin Tuck is a good one. As far as the end, Michael Strahan, man. I mean, he's in one season, he's the all-time leader with sacks in one season, man. What can you say? Now he did start as on the right side as an end, kind of trying to take over for LT, but he just did not grasp it. He wasn't a speed rusher like OC was. He's more physical, he's strong, he would work his hand, he has some quickness. But again, like I said, he was better suited for that left end, against the right side of the offensive line. And there you go, did his thing. OC, man, what can you say, man? So quick off the edge. I mean, there were so many times I'm looking at him, it looks like he's in a track stance, and as soon as the ball snapped, boom, explodes and gets after the quarterback, man. I mean, I believe it was one game he had, 5, 6 sacks in a game? And it just seemed like every time, and I think it was against the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. So let me bring Cave up. Let me close this one out. What's up, Cave? Thanks for being here, man.
What's good, bro?
Yeah, what's up, E-Man? Best friend, their chemistry showed on the field. Yeah, they definitely did, E-Man. It definitely did. It definitely showed. With what he was doing with those two. They, great friends. OC has an MVP, 11.5 sacks, 10 of them were strip sacks. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Tyrone. Against McNabb, exactly. He had those sacks. But, OC was just like, especially with Strahan, those two, man, coming off the edges, it was just, JPP, another one, young when they were when he was coming out with those veteran guys and just doing so many things. The one thing that sticks out about JPP for me is coming out when he was at South Florida, University of South Florida. There was a video of him doing backflips, and not just one. He did, I think it was like 7 or 8, 6 of them all in one. Okay, you remember that one, Cave? You remember seeing? Yeah. So just extremely athletic, dynamic, and then he could play the left side as an end or right side. It didn't matter. Just caused so much havoc. And finally, Justin Tuck started inside a lot of times, strong, coming out of Notre Dame, worked at the outside, whether he was taking over for Strahan, working for Human Yor, and then that NASCAR package, boom, when it was 3rd and long, working on the guard. So JPP looking to come back. Yeah, I heard about that. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. And ridiculously, yeah, he's ridiculously athletic. So, but right now, Cave, looking at my list of defensive linemen. Now, as you see, everyone else usually just throws them all together and they shorten the list. I was very diligent and I broke it down into categories. I see that. What's your thoughts right now in terms of, my defensive line?
I'm about to say, but just to make a comment with the OC Umenyor, I mean, Winston Justice sent him to the Pro Bowl that year off that one game. But yeah, that defensive line, let me see, nose tackle, Lawrence, Jim Burt. Yeah, Jim Burt was a stout, man. Back in the day, he was a stonewall, just like Keith Hamilton was a stonewall, man. Man, Leonard Marshall, everybody know the great Leonard Marshall, man. Wow. Yep. Leonard Williams when he was here with Dex. Yo, bro, that's it right there, man. And I know you got one more guy, Linval Joseph. I know nobody remember too much, but Linval Joseph was a stonewall. But I know he was honorable mention and stuff like that. But those guys you got up there, man, those are like the top guys right there, man. It goes to show you, man, like that 86, what's that, 87 Giants with Jim Burke.
86, 90, yeah.
Yeah, Leonard Marshall, Pete
George
Hamilton,
Martin was on that
George
team.
Martin, Doug Riesenberg, and all these other guys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
you know
man.
what, Iman, thank you for saying that. I did forget about that. Justin Tuck chasing down Tomlinson. Yeah, that was a play. Kiwanuka, yes. He was
Snacks Harrison too. Snacks,
good. But I was expecting more, especially with him coming out of BC, man. So yeah, Iman, I miss them days. Yeah. And again, like I said, I didn't do an honorable mention list because, ladies and gentlemen, it just seems so hard. In every position, I'm getting, except for quarterback, but I'm literally getting 2, sometimes 3 other guys, and I'm like, oh nah, I can't. It's like, so I did go over a lot of them, but it's hard, man.
And what you have to remember is just like now, where it's like, with Thibodeau, what I'm saying, Abdul Carter, Burns, is like that. It's like these guys are around the same time, so it's hard to get everybody on the field at the same time. Now, if these guys was like one player on the team, yeah, you're gonna have a whole bunch of them, but it was all at the same time. That's what makes it hard to get everybody on the floor, on the field.
Exactly. So now we just started the defense. Okay, I'm going to move on from the defensive line. I'm going to give you guys a little heads up, all right, because I'm going to the second level in a sense, the linebackers. But I broke the linebackers up also. So I have outside linebackers and I have inside linebackers. So this is going to be outside linebackers considered edges. And y'all know who's number 1. We don't even have to say it. So, but here we go. Number 1, Lawrence Taylor. This man changed the way offenses played and blocked up front. It's like you had to identify where he was, and his play on the field helped everyone else on that defense, man. And he caused so much fear. I mean, he could take an offensive tackle and just throw him. A running back, he could just pick him up and throw him into the quarterback. Tight ends, you couldn't block him. He played with speed. He played with great power. He could do so many different things. I mean, it's a wonder why and don't forget, he won Defensive Player of the Year. So that to me just says it all right there. Not many. He also was MVP, if I'm not mistaken. What year was that? Was it 87? I can't. I got to look it back up.
Yeah.
But he could
have been MVP.
He was league MVP. Yeah. So, but there you go. Number 2 is Carl Banks. Played right with Taylor, but did everything, could cover the tight end. Oh, and that's the other thing about Lawrence Taylor, man. He could drop in the coverage. He wasn't asked consistently to play dropping the coverage, but he can. I remember that Thanksgiving game against
he could hawk you down.
Yes, he can. Against the Saints, where he came from the other side and hawked them down. But I remember that one game against the Lions on Thanksgiving, where he intercepted the ball, I think about the 3 or 4 yard line, and took off. Nobody could catch him all the way for a pick 6. I remember against the 49ers, in front of Jerry Rice, picked off a ball and returned it roughly about 34 yards. He had quite a few pick 6s like that, man. The fumble recovery against San Francisco that led to that second Super Bowl. It's just like the things that he did. Let me catch up with the chat. Iman, LT, Boley, Pierce, Carl Banks. Okay. Jesse Armstead. Thank you. League MVP and only him and Alan Page. That's correct. It's Carl. No, Carl Banks is not a league Hall of Famer, but he's in the Giants Ring of Honor. It's kind of like that. So, but Carl Banks was just so dynamic. He could get after the quarterback. He could do so many things. Very intelligent, man. He's very astute, intelligent. Heard stories that in the locker room after practice, he would sit and read books. him and Harry Carson. So it's like, his play is just phenomenal. Jesse Armstead, man, that 2000 Super Bowl, I mean, he could play outside, he could play inside, he could get after the quarterback, drop in the coverage. Wasn't overly big down at Miami in college, but he was just dynamic, man. And you know what? You couldn't run him over, and he was a true leader, which is why he's still with the organization today. So
and played strong.
And played exactly. And this one, Brad Van Pelt. A lot of you young guys don't probably like who, but you got to go back and you have to look. He was there with Harry Carson in the beginning, and I believe he was there also with LT when LT first came in. He was the opposite before Carl Banks got here. Could drop in the pass coverage, do a lot of the same things that I was talking about Carl Banks. Fill the lane in the run, very physical. He was that type of player that you needed and you wanted as a for your defense. So there you have it. Lawrence Taylor, number one, hands down. Carl Banks, number two, hands down. Jesse Armstead. I know some people may, and then Brad Van Pelt.
Jesse Armstead is always in there, bro.
Yeah, I know that. So again, like I said, but I know there will be people that would debate it. So, and that's fine. That's why I do these things, and that's why I'm glad to do this, because you know what? Go ahead and debate and make.
And I mean, the Giants was known for their linebackers, back in the 80s, the linebackers, you know what I'm saying? And that's why it's kind of oxymoron now, like linebackers. And that's a position that we neglect. We've neglected that position for so long when we've been known for linebackers and D-line and stuff. Exactly.
Iman, yes. The size of linebackers back then, in comparison to today, you'll see quote unquote defensive end edges the size of these linebackers, that were played back then. So is anybody going to training camp this year? Thoughts on the next hiring? Well, we did the thoughts on the hiring Mike Brown, Nimar. We did that last night. You can tap into, Caves on my page and you can pull up the video and we talked about that. So right now the focus is on my all-time list for the New York Football Giants. So our linebackers are going to speak today. So, but now we're going to go. I did the outside and the outside edges, outside linebackers / edges. So now let's go to the inside linebackers. Here you go. Number one, Harry Carson. I mean, Harry Carson, like I said, another smart man, physical, could play the run, go sideline to sideline, making those plays. It didn't matter, man. He's probably one of the few people that could check Lawrence Taylor too. I mean, he was just that type of a player, and Lawrence Taylor really respected him. He was the captain of the defense, so when he said get in the huddle, you got in the huddle. So, and when he needed to, make a play, taking running backs down, he was definitely there. Number two, Pepper Johnson. A little bit more athletic than Harry Carson, but very similar. Plays strong in the run game, can play coverage, do so many things, get after the quarterback in terms of blitzing. So there you go in terms of that. Number three is Antonio Pierce. I mean, when he came here, man, he was a true captain, did so many things. Man, it is just amazing. Like you said earlier, this team is really thought of as linebacker you in a sense. It just, you sit back and you think about it, it's just crazy. And then Gary Reason's another one in the early. Played along with Harry Carson before Pepper came in. Played with LT and Banks. That linebacker unit was dominant. When I tell you they were dominant, they were dominant. So, they were the only four group of linebackers that I ever thought was close in comparison. I'm not going to say the Bears because the Bears played with three, but I'm going to say the New Orleans Saints back in the days. They had
that's true.
Yes, they had a crew that could rival the Giants. But this listing right now, like I said, Harry Carson, Pepper Johnson, just so dynamic, so elite, and leading to Super Bowls. That's why I'm saying this to you. Leading to Super Bowl, Gary Reason. I remember up in Denver in the snow, they were going for it on, I think it was fourth down by the goal line, and he running back tried to leap, and here comes Gary Reason. Bang! Right there, no touchdowns. So, yeah, the Bears have always had a good core. I was just talking about a foursome in comparison to the threesome. So, yeah, but Gary Reason is number 55, man. I'm telling you, that linebacker, him as a linebacker was just so amazing. So, LeCave, what's your thoughts on the linebackers, both of them outside and inside?
Man, like I said, and most of them is in the 80s, man. That's when we was dominant at the linebacker position, man. Like I said, that's when we were known for back then, man. We had linebackers, man. You know what I'm saying? We have physical, tough linebackers, man, and they play with speed. You know what I'm saying? They could stop the run. You ain't see guys was not afraid to tackle back then. They was a tackle machine back then. You know, it was like they was tackling violently. You know, when Lawrence they was trying to knock the snot out. You know, because you can hear Lawrence Taylor talking about that. He'd be talking trash on the field.
You know what I'm saying? I remember that Joe Theismann game, man, where he broke his leg. Man, it's just like you think about it now. He even LT was just like, "Yo, get out here, get out here." But
he said, "Call him." He said, "Get out here, get out here."
So I mean, the fact what he did, and the one he abused was whatchamacallit from the Eagles. What's his name? Jaworski. Ron
Jaworski. Oh, I used to love that quarterback. He used to love
Tyrone. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I think he had the most sacks against Ron Jaworski, you know, in his lifetime. So, but again, this is why this list, and I'm so passionate. And to be honest, when I went to college, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to play defense, man, because of the Giants.
He's just the Giants. Yeah, yes. That defense.
That defense was just, wow. It was wicked. It was all over the place, man. And it was just a beautiful thing, man. So,
and I'm gonna say this, like, it was nothing like turning that TV on and when you could see the state of New Jersey logo in the middle of the field on the thing, is like, man, I was like, it's football. I'm like, yes. Giants football. I was like, man,
yes,
let's get it.
Exactly. So there we have it. So I'm gonna move on to the next group, and these are, in a sense, considered lockdown guys. These are your cornerbacks. All right. This is another group that I kind of separated, you know, just like I did the other one. So, again, interesting way I broke it down. So here you go. In terms of the cornerbacks, no, I didn't do them. It was I thought I broke them down into inside, outside. No, it was just the receivers. Okay. But here's the cornerbacks. Oh, that's what it is. I remember now. In my notes here, I have it here. I picked 5 cornerbacks, and I'm going to start with Mark Collins. A lot of young players, a lot of young people don't understand how good Mark Collins was. Mark Collins could cover. He could cover short. He could cover deep. He can come up in the run game. I saw him literally put an offensive lineman who was pulling, and he put him on his back, and then made the play in the run game. He'll play in the run game. It didn't. He could play zone. He could play man, and he had that nasty attitude. He was very confident in what he could do. To me, he was the number 1 cornerback for me all time. So
yes.
Number 2 is Jason Sehorn.
Man.
Everyone always talks about, he's a white boy. White boys can't, he could play corner. He was some cornerback. He can play some safety, but he can play cornerback. And you would put him on your number 1, and he would stick them like glue, literally. So good hip flexibility, could rotate, turn, could run. Coming out of USC, he ran track at USC, so he was elite. Felipe Sparks, he was roughly about 5'10"-ish, maybe 5'9". Now, he could play inside and outside today, but he was that type of guy. Now, he was more suited for the zone, but he could play in man-to-man if necessary. He wouldn't be your number 1, but he definitely was, someone who you could put inside. So, here we go. Webster, Sam Madison, Jack Rabbit Jenkins, and Eminem
Yeah,
Seahorn.
I'm gonna
So,
say this with Felipe Sparks. That to me, that was the best time. That was the best cornerbacks that we had with Felipe Sparks, Conrad Hamilton. Those
mm-hmm.
guys, those are like our best secondaries, man. Them guys was making plays. You know what I'm saying, man?
Exactly. Next, you have Corey Webster. You know that
Mhm.
'07 Super Bowl. He was the number one cornerback. Didn't matter. Didn't back down. Would stick with anyone. So yeah, there were times he'd get twisted and get the receiver would get separation, but he would close and still be able to make a play. And then Jack Rabbit Jenkins, man, what can you say? I mean, when he came
Norris,
here,
yeah.
yeah, it was just like, oh my gosh, look at these, and I started saying, okay, is he going to, take us back? I think the situation that happened at his home really is the reason why he ended up leaving, because I was hoping that he would stay a little bit longer. So, but he didn't. So, but yeah, there you have it. Mark Collins, Jason Sehorn, Felipe Sparks, Corey Webster, and Janoris Jenkins, Jack Rabbit Jenkins. So, but what's your thoughts on this list so far?
Yeah, listen, yo, I definitely have Mark Collins, man. Man, like I said, I could just go back if Mark Collins could be today. If we could get a young Mark Collins, I'd be so happy right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Collins, Felipe Sparks, Jason Sehorn, man. Jason Sehorn, people don't know how good Jason Sehorn was,
Yes.
man. I
Yes.
mean, the only thing that ended his career is because the Giants are so bad on offense that he tried to help them on offense,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Mm-hmm.
just killed his career on that one play and stuff like that. And that because he was headed for a nice run, man, on defense. I mean, he was headed for a nice run. You know what I'm saying?
Pat, I understand, but for me, it was just Janoris Jenkins. It was also his mindset, his attitude, and I understand. Again, I do understand DRC, his ability. I also, there were times I wondered about his tackling ability, but again, he was still good. So I can't be mad at that feeling. So, but again, that's how I figure in terms of my cornerback list. So, and just for the record, I did debate those two, man. I was going back and forth with them.
With DRC, Tommy
I was
Rogers,
like DRC, but I think DRC was here 4 years. Jack Rabbit was here 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. So and those are some of the things that that went into my debate. So
Antro roll, yeah, I know.
Antro Rule was not a cornerback. Again, think about that. So it wasn't a cornerback. This is cornerback.
This is cornerbacks, right?
So with that being said, we just talked about the cornerbacks. Let's go ahead over to the aforementioned safeties. So here we go. There is my list of safeties. Terry Kennard, going way back. Terry Kennard could play. He could play two high. He could play single high. If he was single high, he'd go sideline to sideline, always making a play on the football. He could come down and fill the lane in the run. So it did not matter, what it was. No, you good, Tyrone. You good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what's up, Giant Topic, man? Appreciate you. Thanks for being here. So, but yeah, and Terry Kennard was just, for me, it was just back in the 80s.
Terry Kennard.
I just loved looking at him and watching him, along with that defense. So next is Antro Roll. Antro Roll, when he came over from the Cardinals, man, he just instantly took a leadership role. So
yeah,
it was just like you fell in love with him, and he fit into the Giant culture. That's the thing. He fit into the Giant culture and was a natural born leader, for what the Giants were trying to do back then. So I really appreciated his game. Xavier McKinney. I wanted McKinney to stay longer. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think he was headed for something special. That's why I put, because some would say, well, he wasn't here long enough. He was only here 3 years. That's because of the Giants. That's not because of him. Right. That's because of the Giants. I think he wanted to stay here, but you know what? Leadership didn't want him to pay him the money he wanted, which they ended up paying someone else. So But he's in Green Bay. But yeah, what he was doing, I still remember that Raiders game on those 2 interceptions, the one on the sideline that he made. It was just like, oh my gosh, man, this guy is so athletic, man, so beautiful. Landon Collins, there was a point in time, man, box safety, come down, fill the lane in the run. Yes, you would say he's not a coverage, but he could do in the short range, cover and do exactly what you needed him to do. So, but
Landon changed a lot of things for us, man.
Yeah, you knew McKinney was headed for. He was lean amongst men, a hard hitter, great in coverage. He's exactly what the Giants needed. I really wanted X to stay. He's special, and they could still have gotten Burns. So there you go. So what's up, TP? Thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate you. Thanks for tapping in. Thanks again, TP, for inspiring me and challenging me to do this, man. I'm gonna go and recap things because I have a little special way. Not special. I did something special that I don't think anybody else would have ever done. So, undisputed heavyweight champion. Woo! Thanks for tapping in, brother. I really appreciate you, man. Has hurt his hand and still came back and exactly.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, right.
Exactly. So Landon, and the last one I want to talk about is Myron Guyton. All right, old school.
Myron Guyton.
Yes, was important in leading the Giants into the early Super Bowl era. So it was just these guys definitely played football, and they played coverage as well as coming up in the run. So it didn't matter. They didn't just have to play that. So I feel Newman was on. I have a feeling Newman will be on this list by the time he's up for his second contract. So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows, man?
And one thing about the guys on those lists, on all these lists that you put on there, the missed tackle rate was low. These guys was tackling. They was not slipping through tackles, and so the missed tackle rate was very low with these guys.
Exactly, Pat. Only the real know about him. If you really understand football, you know about him. So, and don't get me wrong, there was a lot of other great safeties throughout the course of time. And again, like I said, I didn't go prior to my time as a Giants fan. I started in '79. So, and there's some great ones. You can go all the way back. Kenny
Phillips, he would have, but I know that injury, man. That injury, Kenny Phillips out of Miami.
Yes, again, you see this. You see, ladies and gentlemen, you see this. You see why it's so hard with an honorable mention list. That's why I didn't honestly do it, because I'm telling you, I'm literally 2 to 3 with every position. I'm like, oh my gosh, and it was just hard. So I have two more.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. Our defense. Additions. That's what we're known for, the defense, man. 2 more additions. Yeah,
I have 2 more additions, and I'm going to mess with some of you guys. You're like, oh my gosh, you really went there, Coach. So,
you forget about them.
Ladies and gentlemen, I went with the kickers and the punters. I added the kickers and the punters.
There you go. Hey, man. Lawrence Tynes and Sean Landeta. Sean Landeta forever and a day.
Exactly. So, but again, Lawrence Tynes kicking us in the Green Bay, in the cold, kicking us to that Super Bowl and leading Eli to his first Super Bowl, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so it was just, and thank you, Pat. Yeah, I'm just really hyped about this. And again, thanks to TP, man. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing this. So, but again, this was just a privilege. It was time consuming. It was a lot of work into this, but I don't care. It was well worth it.
You know what's funny about that whole Lawrence Tynes thing kicking us into the Super Bowl in Green Bay?
Mm-hmm.
What's the movie foreshadow it? If you watch the movie Coming to America, when he's talking about the Giants, they beat the Packers of Green Bay. By kicking the ball through an oblong. It's like, man, that was crazy.
Pat, I understand about Steve Weatherford. Yes, he might have, but again, Dave Jennings is the best punter the New York Giants have ever that I have ever seen. Sean Laudetta was a close second. He really was. They were just, Sean Laudetta came over from the USFL and joined, but Dave Jennings and his form, Dave Jennings is right there in second from on the right. Sean Laudetta is 5, and Dave Jennings is right in front of him. But his form, and then he had great height on his punts. That's another thing that people don't realize. Sometimes punters want to kick the ball and get rid of it quickly. But if you get good height, you can allow your coverage to get downfield. And you know what? It takes away their ability to return. But, Steve Weatherford is a good one. Don't forget about Terrell Thomas. E-Man, for real. I'm surprised on this list to be. Well, again,
he probably honorable mention.
I'm going to say this. This is my lifetime, what I've experienced. Gano is good, but the others, and other than Dave Jennings on this list, if you don't know this, everyone has been to a Super Bowl and won. And if you look at my list, a lot of the players on this list have won Super Bowls. A lot of them.
Yeah.
So Gano has done some things for the Giants. I don't want to discredit his contributions to the Giants. He's gotten older.
I think he's just been on some bad teams. That's what it's been.
And he's gotten older, his injuries. So I get why some people, feel the way they do about him. And you know what? It's fine. Is it time to move on? Yes, that's how I put my list. So I get it. So now I have one last one. I said it was 2. So what do you guys think I'm going to bring you? Anybody have an idea? Cade, you think you know?
I'm gonna think special teams.
Yes, it's going to be a continuation of special teams. And
returners.
Here you go. I did returners and long snappers.
That's what I was gonna say. Long snapper. I ain't gonna do long snappers, but yeah, Dave Meggett, Phil McConkey.
Exactly.
Phil McConkey.
And that's the thing that
Diassi.
Okay, Iman. You got jokes, Iman. You caught me with that one.
He said he better be on that list.
Okay, so but yeah, in terms of returners, number 1, Dave Meggett, back when he was a returner, he put fear in the opposition. They didn't want to kick to him because you were always afraid he was going to return it. Phil McConkey, very sure-handed, and he still could make a play. Now, I'm not going to say he was a burner, but yeah, there are times he made a play because he's got on this list because that's how he got into the NFL. Because he was undrafted. I think he came out of Navy, and he said, I got to do what I got to do. Now, in terms of the long snappers, Zach Diassi is the best, made a Pro Bowl.
Diassi, right.
So, no, he made several Pro Bowls. But his dad is Steve, which is number 99 on the picture. For those of you who don't know, and he's the reason why his son is there. But when he played with the Giants, he played linebacker, but he was also that long snapper, and he was good. He was fast in getting the ball to the quarterback, and then also helping in terms of the blocking. Yes, I agree with you, Pat. Dave Wilson would have been here on this list if it was not for an injury. TP. There you go.
I think two players with the injuries would have been Dave Wilson and also Ike Hilliard, the neck injuries.
Yes.
The neck injuries.
But there you go. So, sorry. Let me close this down.
And on that Dave Wilson thing, I was so mad. I was like, man, we just selected this guy. I was like, man.
Okay, so real quick. I'm going to try and recap this as quick as possible. I'm going to bring them back up one at a time just so those of you who are just tapping in now can see. I started TP. I got you right here with this one. I started with GMs and coaches. Now, nobody thought about doing this. No one has thought about adding it. Exactly. They're important to everything that an organization does. And without either phase, we don't have what we have. George Young and drafting these players, putting people in, hiring Bill Parcells, not giving up on him after that first year, because Bill Parcells could have been fired with a 3-win first year.
Yes,
but
he
he
would
stayed
have.
the course. Ernie Accorsi, making the trades, getting the players. Yes. As far as coaches, Bill Parcells, man. Come on, the first Super Bowl and everything, it's even the second one, but everything that he's done, the mind games that he would play with people, he definitely did his thing. Tom Coughlin and Jim Fossil, those are two that, definitely.
Brian Dable, this is all said and done.
All right,
wish,
Pat.
right? He
All
wish.
right, there you go, Pat. You got that one.
Man, the way Bill Parcells talked to players, man, these players today, they probably be too sensitive and stuff like that, because Bill would just, oh, man, he used to eat those guys up, man. I used to love and they used to play his stuff on the sidelines, his trash talk.
Exactly. Here's the quarterbacks. And again, go ahead and kill me. I don't care. For me, my quarterback is Phil Simms. He came in 79. That's the year I became a Giants fan. It's a sentimental thing. He still does have 2 Super Bowls. He just got hurt in that second one. He did do what he needed to do to lead it up, and I think he would have led to probably led to a second one. Eli Manning, what can we say? I can't discredit anything about this man. So, yes, you're right. They all came from Parcells' tree, Iman. So it was definitely one of the best to set the standards. Personally, I put Coughlin at 1, mainly with his team beating it. You know what? That's a great argument. I can't dispute that. They were thought of as not, but you know what? It is what it is. Again, Kerry Collins, those are my quarterbacks. Again, and as you notice, they all went to at least a Super Bowl. So, that's why they're also here on this list. The next we're going to hit is the running backs. Where's the running backs? And again, just so you guys know, let me close out Iman with Daniel Jones. Jeff Hostetler is 3 for you. Okay, Pat. I understand. I respect it, but damn, he has some assistants too. Belichick, Payton.
Yeah, Eli should have
coaches and GM list is fired. Yes, exactly. So, and they contributed to what this organization has done.
Them Lombardis.
Running backs, again, this is another one. It's not conventional. So those of you who weren't here in the beginning, here I go. I broke it down into running backs and fullbacks. So running backs is Tiki, Joe Morris, Rodney Hampton, Brandon Jacobs. Fullbacks, Maurice Carthan and Charles Way. So that's what I thought of in terms of the backfield, in a sense. Those players there, they were key contributors to everything that the New York Football Giants needed during that time frame. What am I missing? I did running backs. It was tight ends next. My tight ends, nothing else to say. Bavaro, Shockey, and Howard Cross. For me,
Shockey, man, one of my best players, Shockey.
Yes. So, and I know some probably will put Shockey 1, and that's fine. But wait a minute. Eli Manning, Sims, and Hostetler for you, and that's fine. I can understand that. So Hostetler, the reason why I didn't put Hostetler, just so you guys know, because he did win a Super Bowl, he didn't play enough as a starter for the Giants, probably because of Phil Simms, which is why he left to go to the Raiders. If he stayed with the Giants longer, he probably would have. Coach Chase Daniel wins the Super Bowl. No, I won't. Damn right on those running backs. Iman, here's the thing about Saquon. And it's not holding grudges. I love Saquon. It has nothing to do with him going to the Eagles. Personally speaking, if a man does what he needs to do to win a championship and get his money, do it. And plus, look at what he went through dealing with this organization. They really didn't want him. They cast him aside. But it has to do with the fact that he was injured a little bit too much for me. All right? It really does. That's the thing that hurt him the most. The amount of injuries, the amount of times he was dynamic, and it was just something that I was just like, and I debated it. I really did. So that's the list on tight ends. Bavaro will always be number 1. Yeah, so that's the tight ends, but that's why I didn't put Saquon on my list. As far as the running backs, for what in comparison to the others. So next was the wide receivers, and I broke it down into two phases. I did outside and I did slots. So outside is Toomer, Nix, Beckham, and Hilliard, and the slots is Cruz, Shepard, and Smith. So that's what I did, and that's why because the receivers was just so difficult initially, and I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute, some of these guys did play in the slot, so that's why I was like, okay, I could do that here with them in terms of the slot. And then next is the offensive line, and I know some of you guys are going to kill me because I'm waiting for it. So offensive line. And here we go with the offensive line. So I did center with Bardolt, Sean O'Hara, guards, Chris Snee, William Roberts, Ron Stone, tackles, David Deal, Jumbo Elliott, Kareem McKenzie.
Elliott.
Yep. So, and I know some are going to say, there's one person who's missing. And Pat, I thought about it. And he was here short. I mean, it was 3 years, but I think the gunshot for me is the biggest thing because he really hurt. Because I really feel if he didn't hurt himself in that gunshot and it took everything out of the organization, I think that we could have won another Super Bowl that year. I really believe that. So. But hey, again, that's me.
But that's him. That's it. But he would be on that list because he is one of the best wide receivers in the history of the Giants. Though, even that short time he played, because he made an impact. Because he made an impact.
He made definitely an impact. He really did. I also looked at his numbers. In comparison. So, I get it, Iman. I get the numbers. But like I said, for me, the biggest thing. It also deals with a lot of the injuries. So and I debated, and I also looked at the other one because I actually thought about him versus Rodney Hampton, but Rodney Hampton was just more productive for the Giants because he's another one who was hurt, but he was he was more productive. So you're right, Pat. We don't beat the Packers without him. So, and I get it. So. It's just
he tore Al Harris and them guys up, bro.
All right, getting back to the D line. Again, for the D line, I broke it down also into segments: the nose tackle, the interior tackles, and the defensive end. So nose is Lawrence and Jim Burt. Tackles are Leonard Marshall, George Martin, Keith Hamilton, Leonard Williams. Ends are Michael Strahan, O.C. Umenyiora, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Justin Tuck for as the defensive line. So we have there with them. The next is the linebackers. For those who don't know, I broke it down into two parts. You had your outside/edges, and very simple: Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks, Jesse Armstead, and Brad Van Pelt. And then you have your inside linebackers, and the inside linebackers will be, where is it? Here we go. Inside linebackers will be Harry Carson, Pepper Johnson, and Antonio Pierce, and Gary Reasons. So there you go with that. Next up, we're going to go to the cornerbacks. And with the cornerbacks, we had Mark Collins, number one, Jason Sehorn, Felipe Sparks, Corey Webster, Janoris Jenkins. So, and I know some of you are going to say, like Pat said, DRC, and that's fine. That's fine. Next up is going to be the safeties, and the safeties were led by. Where's the safeties? Here we go. There. Terry Kennard, Antro Roll, Xavier McKinney, Landon Collins, Myron Guyton. All right. So, and next we're going to go into the special teams. So, you had your kickers, which were Lawrence Tynes and Raul Alegre. and then punters Dave Jennings and Sean Landetta.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is going to be the returners. And you had Dave Megan and Phil McConkey as returners, and then the Diassi, Zach and Steve Diassi. So there you have it. That's my list. Hampton over Barkley all day, and tough. So there you have it. Again, let me know. I mean, some of you guys are letting me know your thoughts, and that's fine. That's why I'm glad to do this. If you haven't done one, I'm looking forward to some of you guys doing this. So, but again, this is just for me. This is my list. Again, understand that this is my list. So your list should be different from mine. I don't want to see somebody with the same, I'm loving the valid points. It brings a different perspective. I don't want anyone to have the same list as me. The only one that I could say, we probably going to agree on is, Eli. Well, most of you would probably put Eli 1 and Phil 2, but the same quarterbacks. As far as LT, Carl Banks, we would all have them. Michael Strahan, guys like that. OC maybe. Dexter Lawrence. Again, that's where we would probably have a lot of similarities in reference to that. Now, real quick, all right. Nobody's mentioned it so far, so I do have the list of. Oh, why is it open up? I had an honorable mention of Otis Anderson as one, as far as running back. Henry Hynotsky is another for fullback. Rich, as far as guards, Rich Schubert and Billy Ard. Tackle, I had Andrew Thomas, Brad Benson, Luke Pettigrew.
Wow.
Wide receivers, I had Plaxico Burress. I'm skipping over some of them. As far as nose tackle, this is where I really had a debate between Jim Burt and Eric Howard was my other nose tackle. As far as the defensive tackles, Damon Harrison, Snack Harrison, was an honorable mention for me. And I'm not reading the rest of these because a lot of them I have way too many there. But those are some of the ones I just wanted to highlight the most. But again, that's me. Those are some of my honorable mentions that I think will stick out. I know some people are probably going to question why Thomas isn't on here. And it's the same thing with Saquon. Thomas has been hurt way too much. And his impact has really hurt the New York Football Giants. So a lot of the other ones, they
talking about Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the reason why some of these players get left off is because they playing on bad teams. That's the problem. A lot of these guys that's on these teams, they playing on great teams, great football teams like those Giants teams. You play on a lot of bad teams, you're not going to get recognition and stuff like that. And that's just the reality of it. The player is good, but the team sucks so bad that they just feel like they ain't doing nothing because the team sucks so bad. But that's not the player's fault.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because these players are still getting recognized. You know what I'm saying? So, but they just like being like, if you play in the Giants for the last 10 years, they just been bad. And that's not, that's not the good player's fault. You know what I'm saying? Just the team has been so dysfunctional. You know what I'm saying? So that's what
fair.
it is.
That's fair. That's a fair argument. I can't disagree with that. And if you notice, a lot of, the ones on my list, a lot of them contributed to a Super Bowl, which was going to what Cade just
on the
said.
good team, on the winning teams, right?
Exactly. So, but again, this also it goes to me being a Giants fan since 1979. Like I said with Phil Simms, he's my quarterback. He was drafted in 79, and that's when I became a Giants fan. I became a Giants fan because some of you don't know, my dad is a Steelers fan. And 1970, and I knew the Steelers from the 70s. I knew them inside and out as a kid, everything. And my dad took us to see the Steelers play the Giants in the Meadowlands. And that's when I said, oh, New Jersey has a professional football team. And, as a 12-year-old kid, it's like, okay, I want my own team. I'm not going to follow Pop's team anymore. And Phil Simms was a quarterback, and the rest is history. So there you have it. So I appreciate you all contributing, giving me your thoughts, your insights. I'm again, like TP challenged me. I'm challenging all you other Giants content creator or just a fan of the Giants. Do a list, man. Do a list. Think about it. What are your criterias? I mean, it's interesting. It's tough. Thanks, Charles Adderley, for tapping in. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you. Just stop by to show my support and smash the like, man. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has done that. Hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Man Cave, you can put your channel in the chat so this way, people can subscribe to you. And also subscribe to the Hardcore Sports Network and the Aboriginal Sports Network. The information is in the description. What is that? Sorry. I think it's a solid list. There's a lot of positions that can go either way. Yeah, that's the point of having these lists, man. Thanks, Charles. But that's the point of having these lists. It can go either way. So, and it was fun, like I said, just time consuming. So, but you got anything going on, Kay, before we get ready to get out of here?
Ain't nothing going on right now until next week. Do some more Nick stuff next week.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone. Charles Adderley, Giants Topic, Bit Pat with the Aboriginal Sports Network, Eman, been here rocking with me since the beginning. TP, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. Tyrone's been rocking with me since the beginning. Really appreciate you. Let's see, am I forgetting anyone? Aboriginal Search. Heavyweight champion, appreciate you for being here. I know Nick was here earlier. Thank you for being here. Yeah, Nick Cure. Nimar, thanks for being here. Kirkio, sorry, I think I said his name wrong. I don't mean to disrespect you like that. That's not my
Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button for Coach Edd, Gladney's Amazing World of Sports, man, the Aboriginal Sports Network, and all the great content creators on the Aboriginal Sports Network, like myself, the Man Cave Podcast, Big Pat Sports Talk, TP Way the Giant, Leaf Diggy, Mets 2128, Unpopular Opinion Sports NYG, Ghost Dog, Delay of Game, as well as Rob R0B, man. Make sure you go and hit that subscribe button, man. It's totally free. Don't cost you nothing, man. To keep bringing you great content and great stream like this, man. Make sure you go and subscribe.
AK, thank you for being here, brother. Daniel Berry, thanks for being here also. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my list. You can go back. I gave a real detailed explanation if you want to go back and rewatch it. But again, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing some of you guys come out with your own list. So, but with that being said, about ready to get out of here. You'll see me again probably next week. I don't have anything scheduled until next Tuesday, which is going to with Man Cave as well as the Full Court Press Show. That's pretty much going to be it. Might see me, tapping in with Pat and NYG, doing things with them, but that's pretty much it right now. If you have any suggestions, hit me up. You can hit me on Twitter. If you have anything you suggest you would like to see me do, I'm more than open to do anything right now with it. Well, I'm looking to bring you good content. So if it's something that's feasible, I ain't trying to do nothing illegal.
Right.
But that's about it, man. I got nothing but love and respect for everyone. Thank you again for tapping in. This was fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it. So, and we're out of here, man.
Peace.
For Coach Edd, hitting hard like hammer, analyzing plays, no slipping on the glamour. From the courts to fields, every game he plans up. Legendary hustle always stands up. NYC nights where the lights bright and grander. Critical calls got the crowd in tandem. Players respect cause he's never random. Game on lock, he's the playbook's fandom. Edd, he's the man on the scene, breaking down plays like a well-oiled machine. In the Bronx or Queens, he's a strategy fiend, always in control, living the dream. Sunset games, crowd on fire, electric, calling every move with a voice so eclectic. From sunrise drills to the midnight tactics, a master at work. His passion's automatic with a whistle round his neck, always systematic.